Good afternoon to you all, viewers at home, and welcome to Western Spring Television Oshogbo, and to your regular program, Pertinent Questions. Exactly 6 weeks ago, today, the old order gave way to the new as Nigeria transited from a PMB to a PB80 presidency. The Eagle Square in Abuja saw the inauguration of the presidency of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. How far has it been for a rather enthusiastic people who 29th of the month of May meant so much for then? Has it been a roller coaster or a period of frustration galore? It will be too early, I admit, in the day to be rather emphatic on either side of it. The program is Pertinent Questions. We have a list of questions to bring to the fore for a gentleman in the studio to react to. In the studio, therefore, with me this afternoon is someone who should know and who knows. The gentleman I have in the studio is a professor of history, a great intellectual, an intellect, an academic who has contributed so much to the progress of education and social development of our land. He is no other than Professor Bola OYEWESO. It's a privilege to have you in the studio.
Good afternoon, the moderator, the management of West Spring Television. It's a great opportunity to be here.
It's your first time?
Certainly the first.
Tell me your impressions.
Well, I must commend the visionary, the man who conceived the idea and who has nurtured the idea to this present stage. This is beautiful. In fact, it is beyond that. It is extraordinary.
Okay.
It is the first private television station in Osun State.
Yeah.
So, in 32-year history of Osun State, he's making history. And
he's making or he has made?
He's making, he's still making, because there's still room for improvement.
All right, thank you.
But he has set the standard, a pace that is number one person in Osun State to own a private television station. We have private radio stations, but his own radio station, Rave FM, is still the station to beat.
Okay.
The station has distance many. And this is a pioneering station. So I must give it to him that Femi has done very well. And I know he's not going to rest on his horse.
Thank you very much for your commendations, and he and all of us here will hope that you will always be there for us. I am ADETOYESW SHITTU. My guest is someone who is in his 60s and so has seen so much of the Nigerian evolution in the last 45 to 50 years. Professor SIYAN OYEWESO, you are most welcome to this program and this show we call Pertinent Questions. How do you do as a person? How has it been as a Nigerian citizen in the last 6 weeks?
Well, as a Nigerian citizen, as somebody who should know, I see the emergence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the beginning of a new era, renewed hope agenda. Bola Ahmed Tinubu is one man, one leader that I've watched over the years, particularly since the 90s. I've been closely associated with him even before he became the governor of Lagos State.
Oh.
And when he served as the governor of Lagos State from 1999 to 2007. Yeah. I was just there at the background.
Okay.
So it's somebody that I know very well. He's a very deep man, an intellectual fountain. So if he's calling to the deep today, it's something that is expected. He looked for the job. He searched for the job, worked hard for it, and he was eminently qualified. By grace of God, by commitment of the people, today he is the duly elected president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. This is just the icing of the cake. More.
No two ways about that for now. Yeah. Perhaps until the tribunal and the court decide finally. But we for now, he is the president. The people appear to be crying of being, let me use the word, suffocated. On the other hand, the president thinks the very poor amongst the poor must be given some sort of allowed to breathe. Looking at the Nigerian scenario now, are these two positions in tandem?
Well, before that will be a preface to that question. We know where Nigeria was before President Tinubu emerged.
Yeah.
We can take a look back, collective look at the cashless policy of the Buhari administration, the role that the central bank governor played in that. Just a month, the whole policy almost suffocated Nigerians. We had Nigerians reduced to penury. People who had 500 million could not withdraw 30,000, 20,000. We had people stripping themselves naked in the banking halls. We had people sleeping over in the banking halls. Today is a thing of history. Cashless policy is a good project, but it must be faced. It must have timeline. You cannot suffocate the people all of a sudden without the necessary technological infrastructure. The ICT infrastructure of most of the banks today still remain very, very weak. And that is what led to the emergence of some of these some other banks that I do not want to market them by mentioning their names, that are more effective in service delivery than the conventional banks. So that's the first thing we must give to President Bola Tinubu. Reversal of that policy. We are not going to be the first country to have cashless policy. There are templates and examples all over the world. So let's give it to him. Secondly, you talk about the fuel subsidy is the main issue that people should pay appropriate pricing for petroleum product. To all intent and purpose, it is so clear today that fuel subsidy, with due respect to people in the oil industry and those of us who should know, it's a scam. A group of Nigerians have scammed us over a period of time by asking for fuel subsidy to the extent that Nigeria is now a broke state. You have to be securing loan to service the state, to even pay salaries. You are servicing other countries. Very recently, we knew about those people that are stealing our petroleum products across international borders. It's unfortunate that one was destroyed in data. We should have known the identity of the owners. Yeah. Some people are saying that the ship was burned in order to protect the identity of the owner. But that company was registered in 2009. So, and when you go back to CAC, Corporate Affairs Commission, the identity of the owners will be known. That's one. Cameroon today, Benin Republic, that are the major beneficiaries of illegal bunkering, illegal shipping, and
being our immediate
neighbors. They know the difference today. We cannot be subsidizing the luxury of other prominent Nigerians and their international collaborators. So for President Tinubu took. That was the first decision.
Yeah.
And that has led to hues and cries. Certainly, it is before the National Assembly. A particular amount of money has been budgeted for palliatives, and people are already querying it. What is 8,000 naira to each family?
Yeah, let me ask you, because it's one of the questions I was going to ask.
8,000 naira to each family? So people are proposing a lot of alternatives. Now, why can't you use this huge amount accumulated within 1 month to maintain critical infrastructure, particularly the refineries? Some people are raising that. Some people are also asking that 8,000 naira may not mean anything to Mr. ADETOYESW, smallest, or OYEWESO. But they are poorest of the poor, the flotsam and the jetsam of the society, the dirty Harrys of no name who are right there in their villages, that 2,000 naira, 1,000 naira really matters to. The core issue, how do you identify the poor?
Thank you very much. I was going to come to that.
How do you identify the poor? That will not be the business of the people at the grassroots. You have local leadership. Do not inherit the template of 10,000 naira of the previous administration, conditional cash transfer. The National Assembly, critical stakeholders must assist the government in ensuring that the poorest of the poor, not the elite, not the middle class, not the student, because he has a different package for the student. President Bola Tinubu is a great lover of the youth, and he has positive agenda for their implement, particularly in the education sector, in entrepreneurship. And I want to talk first and foremost on the education sector.
Prof, let's finish with this matter you have raised, this question of the 8,000 naira going to the poorest of the poorest. Number one, you mentioned that there have been other suggestions. The questions I want to put to you are two. Will President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, given your knowledge of him, would he listen to the advice some people have, go and take the money elsewhere? Number two, you have also said that so that it doesn't go the way the 10,000 went the other time. Will this 8,000 really and seriously get to the people intended, given the Nigerian style?
I will answer that question in two folds. First, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu is a listening leader, and he likes to engage you in constructive dialogue. And he listens at the end of the day. If he disagrees with you, and he knows later that you are right, he will call you back and say, yes, I'm persuaded by your reasoning, by your logic, and by evidence. So the policy as of today is not cast in stones. There have been suggestions from other people that why can't you look at the food sector? You have declared war on food insecurity. That why can't we invest this in agricultural revolution, which we have all paid lip service to over a period of time? As of today, sir, we know that those of us in the West, with due respect, we used to be the food basket of the nation. We are no longer the food basket of the nation. So, for the leadership in the West, what is the agenda for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? Are they speaking out on food security and insecurity? If that is a collective decision, that this money should go for critical infrastructure in the oil industry, in agricultural sector, if you solve the problem of food security, a greater percentage of the problem, because today Nigerians are very, very poor
and hungry,
and hungry and angry. And that has to do with the fact that an hungry man is an angry man. When you cannot, when you work and your salary, your wage cannot take you home. And it cut across cadres. If a person is earning 30,000 naira per month and has a wife and 2 children, how can they survive on 30,000 minimum wage? But we know the reality of today, that 30,000 per month is yet to be implemented in several states of the federation and even in the organized private sector. How do we ensure that we take care of the poor? My answer is clear. Let us identify the poorest of the poor. Do not rely on the old data. Hold somebody accountable that if you are the person in charge of this, let's know that you are in charge. And that if it fails, we hold that person squarely responsible. It was difficult under the last administration. That accountability was not there, right there. As at this morning, the National Assembly was insisting, panelists, that look, take a look at our oil industry. How can we have this number of refineries and none is working? And the Dangote can ensure that the refinery, or if you want to now take a look at this refinery and hand 1 or 2 or 3 over to Dangote, to Bola, or to Otedola, if it's private sector driven, most certainly the oil industry will be revived. Central to Bola Tinubu administration is the energy sector. The energy sector is very, very central to the future, to the present and future development of Nigeria. It is critical to the manufacturing sector. Most of the people today, I know, as we enter this place, it runs on generator. It runs on diesel, 500 kV generator. If you have that, if there is stable power supply from the national grid, you will divert that money to development of the station and to the welfare of staff. But the running costs for most establishments, whether you are talking about Cadbury, you are talking about major companies in Nigeria today, it is difficult for them to survive. Universities, educational centers are finding it difficult. I don't know of any university today that can survive on 6 hours power supply a day. Otherwise, it is going under. So, the Nigeria problem is for all of us to settle, to resolve. We must assist President Bola Tinubu by providing alternative solutions. He is welcome to ideas and suggestions.
Okay, just last week before he traveled, the president met his the class of 99, those of them who were all governors alongside his own governance of Lagos State. And his message to them was carry his renewed hope message to the people in their various. But the Nigerian of today, is he very, very sure of what is to come? Will they therefore accept the message, that renewed hope message that the people, his own colleagues of old, have been given the opportunity to go and carry to the people?
You see, when you see your old student, your classmate, assess them by the standard of that time. You may not know who they are today, particularly for those of us who belong to old student associations. Your classmate of yesteryears, there is so much love, may not be that person again. And one thing about Bola Tinubu is that we call him the last man standing. If you recollect the tsunami that consumed the governors of the Southwest, then he was the lone survivor. How did he survive? And why did other people fail? He has keen sense of history. He learns from the people, and he respects some of them, not all of them, because by their public record, we know some of them who never meant well for their people, who are guests of ICPC, EFCC, and till today, and who have one way or the other of doing plea bargaining. Certainly, it is not that class of people that by the time President Tinubu unfolds his ministerial list, you will see that most certainly it will be a blend of various categories of people. The youth will have their representation, the women will have their representation, the old will also have their representation, the professionals will have their representation. He's done a lot of homework along this time.
Thank you, Prof. I'm glad you have told the world that you knew him even before he became governor.
Yes.
The man you knew, when he came to power on the 29th, or even long before that, did you ever anticipate that it would take him 6 weeks and not name cabinet?
6 weeks is too.
No. I say as the man you knew.
No, you see, let me tell you, when you are in politics, you are looking for office. That cabinet list was ready a long time ago. But because Nigeria is a complex country, it's diverse country, and you have to rethink balance of forces. You are going to govern over people, not over yourself alone. So people will suggest A, B, C, D, and let me assure you that as of today, intelligence reports on the ministerial list, if it have not been completed, it has reached advanced stage. So for a man who prepared over a long period of time, you must also watch your back. You must look, am I in the right direction? Is this, in the light of information available before me, is this man the right man for the job? Let me take a look at special advisors that the man appointed. Dele Alake. He was the first commissioner for information and strategy in Lagos State. He managed TVC over some years. Now he's back as special advisor, special duties, communication and strategy. You will see.
There is always strategy in Asiwaju's appointment.
You have a person, information flow, information management. That's an information manager for you. And he has his ears. When you want to govern very well, take care of your information ministry. He has told us clearly that the problem with Nigeria is not fund generation. It is how to manage, how to assess the actual quantum of fund generation. He has appointed someone as a special advisor on revenue. So, a man who was a former commissioner for finance in Oyo State. So, you see the caliber of people he's bringing him. So, there has been no vacuum. What the minister should do, he has appointed some other people in the meantime to fill the vacuum. We know in the history of these countries that some people did not appoint even commissioner for 1 year. But the law today is quite emphatic that in the first 6 months, your commissioners must emerge. Your ministers must emerge.
Is it first 6 months or I think it's lower than that?
Well, maybe it is lower than that. I think if the list is not come out in 6 weeks, it is still he has approached the National Assembly, he has submitted the list of national security advisors. And I know that Senate has passed. I watched the full proceedings of the contributions of each of the service chiefs right there at Senate. House of Representatives, the Green Chamber, is currently screening this set of people. So, for somebody in the history of Nigeria, in the military history of Nigeria, the Southwest has had the opportunity of being chief of army staff only less than a year. That's General Bola
I said just once.
Once.
That was in 1983.
Once. And less than a year. Now.
Well, he is the first chief of defense staff Nigeria ever had.
So they know the powers that be at that time. were quite aware that the Chief of Army Staff is a core and strategic staff. He oversees the entire Nigerian, the fighting army. So for Major General Lagbaja, Taoreed Lagbaja, to emerge as Chief of Staff,
Chief of Army Staff.
Chief of Army Staff in 2023, it's a very positive development in nation building. A particular segment of the country should not continue to monopolize that in a situation where we are Federal Republic of Nigeria. So look at the appointments. You will give kudos to a man of vision, a man who believes that, look, this is Renew Hope, Renew Hope agenda. And many people go back to 1983. When you are back, 1993, that is King Gibe Abiola ticket.
Oh, yeah.
King Gibe, a Borno man.
Yeah.
Shettima, a Borno man.
So it's an interplay.
You see the nexus.
Okay.
And look, what we are looking at, what Abiola could not achieve at that time because of certain problems. Now, this is handshake.
Across the desert.
Across the desert.
Because it's no longer across the Niger.
Across Niger to Borno.
Okay, across the confluence.
So, you see, good combination. All we need to do is we should not be sycophants. We should be able to say, this is it. You cut me short on education loan of President Tinubu. For me, it's a good development. I do not see any reason why the Academic Staff Union of universities should be telling them that look, education loan is grant them so.
Grant.
It's not our business.
Okay.
Students even moved that please remove the name ASU from the Board of Trustees.
Okay.
So why are we busybody there? Okay. My interest is that if you give student loans and you attach conditions for repayment, it's a positive development. Okay. 500,000 naira per student in a public university or private university. It will rekindle educational. I'm a product of loan. Okay. My parents took loan to send me to secondary school. So if they took it at that time, our government is saying today that is ready.
University, come and take loan.
Come and take loan. So be it. It's the practice in other countries. If there are little weaknesses here and there in the bill, let's stakeholders now collate this and approach the National Assembly for an amendment to the act. We should not throw that away. It's a goodwill to Nigeria.
Thank you very much. At this point, we'll call for a break, and then we'll come back to you because there are still some very important questions I want you to ask. The fact is that you are an ASU member, but you still don't agree with what the collectivity has done, isn't it?
What the ESCO has done.
Oh, it's only the ESCO. Okay. Thank you for the correction, Prof. Yes, I have been in a very, very interesting conversation with a historian of note, Professor SIYAN OYEWESO. We will be back after this break. Thank you.
Jeremiah Oyeni Obafemi on March 6, 1905. Obafemi Awolowo was a prime architect of Nigeria's independence and most consummate advocate of free education and social welfare in Africa's most populous nation. Erudite politician, thinker, and philosopher, Awo was fondly addressed by associates and political colleagues brought his unique attributes to bear on governance in the defunct Western region. He administered as leader of government business and the premier between 1955 and 1958. Obafemi Awolowo's premiership witnessed pioneering in multi-sectoral policy initiatives and execution. The Western region under his administration paraded several enviable records. First television station in Africa, first real estate in Nigeria, first high-rise building in Nigeria, first modern sports stadium in Nigeria, first agricultural settlement in Nigeria, first modern civil service secretariat in Nigeria, and first industrial estate in Nigeria. His face is on 100 naira denomination as a mark of honor for his distinguished services to his country. Western Spring Television identifies Obafemi Awolowo as a major character in history. Badamasi Adegoke Adelabu was a prominent figure in Ibadan politics and Western region before Nigeria's independence. He was a key founder of the National Council of Nigeria and the Cameroons, a political party that held a lofty the touch of liberty for the two West African countries. He carved a niche for himself as a wordsmith and a creative speaker. The nickname Kwenkelemens was a natively corrupted version of Peculiar Mess, his bombastic English language style often used to score proceedings at the parliament. The author of Africa in Ebullition, a handbook of freedom for Nigerian nationalists, was Nigeria's Federal Minister of Natural Resources and Social Services between 1955 and 1956. He died in an auto crash on the 25th March 1958 at the age of 42. Western Spring Television identifies Adegoke Adelabu as a watershed character in history.
We're back into the studios, and in the studio is a man I have described as someone who should know and who knows, Professor OYEWESO. Welcome back to the beat. The first question I will fire in this second half of our discourse is anchored on what I have gathered from Nigerians. They think, rightly or wrongly, that the presidency does not appear to be in a hurry in fighting corruption. Are the people right in their thinking, or? They have situated, well, as you answer me, I will be able to...
It is too early in the day to say a government is not interested in fighting corruption. The various organs of government are yet to be put in place, but they will be put in place. Soonest. A substantive chairman of Economic and Financial EFCC Commission is yet to be appointed. Even fighting corruption, without those extra organs of EFCC, ICPC, the Nigerian police, if properly managed, has the necessary wherewithal structure to fight police. But this is not the time to be looking at the funding challenges and problem of the Nigerian police. It is something that we should also put on the front burner, that the government of President Bola Tinubu should prioritize the welfare, accommodation, health needs of Nigerian police. If you visit any of the police barracks today, particularly the one in Ikeja, it remains an eyesore today. The one in Osun here, Ishibu, that is not where you should put your crime busters, crime fighters, corruption, anti-corruption fighters. Charity must begin at home. I do not want to do it. But the ICPC has the enabling teeth and structure over a period of time. Pray that nobody has any problem with ICPC.
Okay.
It is trained professionally.
Okay.
No matter how long, they will not do any parade.
Yeah.
They must have completed their investigation before. So the structure of fighting corruption is there. But you must ask yourself, are Nigerians themselves ready to fight corruption?
Good point. But you see, the point that some Nigerians dwell on in coming to that conclusion I just gave in my question is the manner the federal government has handled the case against Godwin Emefiele. Everybody was looking forward to seeing him being roped in criminal negligence and things like that, economic challenges. Then you come after nearly 5 weeks of incarceration to tell the nation that this man is the only charge is the charge of illegal possession. Prof, are you satisfied with such?
Well, so far so good when a case is filed.
Yes.
No, when a case is filed, what EFCC has done today is that charge him to court or release him.
Okay.
And on that particular day, EFCC charge him to court. And when you want to...
Did you say EFCC? I mean DSS.
DSS charge him to court. When you talk about Department of State Security, please be very careful with them. They've used those 5 weeks to amass the necessary evidence. The issue of illegal possession of a gun and ammunitions is a very serious crime. And you don't know whether before the day of appearance,
they would have
even put amended charges.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of Emefiele. But if you want to get a man very to the gulag,
hold him by the wrist.
Hold him. So whatever DSS has done so far, it's still in private domain of intelligence. Intelligence gathering, collation of necessary materials. They've done due diligence.
And in response to a court instruction.
What they have just done, this one can really get you there. And before you know the verse of the court appearance.
Okay, because some Nigerians think it amounts to the people being taken for a ride. And of course also perhaps in the typical Nigerian way of doing things, prevent Emefiele from spilling the beans.
You see, what Emefiele has done to this nation, where are the new Naira notes? Are they in circulation?
No.
We know the quantum.
Not much.
It's not in circulation. Maybe 2% of what he claimed to have printed. So, on the eve of a presidential election, of a national election, and you did that to the people, you punished Nigerians. Governors were approaching the court, and you and the Attorney General then were above the court. It took good conscience, good people, to prevail at the last minute on President Muhammadu Buhari, a former president, that please do not destroy our apex course. Let these people. And the new president has listened to the people, relaxed the period of cashless policy, that cashless policy can take off in 2024 and beyond.
Okay, the president's, his IGR policy, the way we think, appears it will go into multiple taxation. It is multiple taxation oriented. He has brought in a man who is into the field. Would you say this is good for the masses when the federation, the bigger men who are milking this country, continue to go, I don't want to use any unnecessary word.
Well,
the poor masses get more and more taxed.
Sir, I think we need to follow the policy thrust of Tinubu administration in terms of revenue generation.
He did it before in Lagos.
No, he did it before, but this is a different one. Now, what he's doing, what he's asking, is what he's saying today is that people about, a particular range should not be taxed. Because if you are taxing them, you are taxing poverty.
Yeah.
That if you are between level 1, level 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, what are you taxing? It is the people above them that should be taxed. That is the policy of the Tinubu. Instead of multiple taxation, put up this together. Let us look at inland revenue, Federal Inland Revenue Service. What are they doing? What is the custom doing? What is the immigration doing? With areas of seepages and leakages that have been there, let's study this, put this together, and have a central collecting point. So that policy, he has set up a 32-man committee to look into this issue and bring out their recommendation. The final recommendations are yet to be there. When you look at VAT policy, VAT, in Africa today, Nigeria pays the least VAT, less than 7%.
I thought it was shot from 5 to 7.5.
No, other African countries, you have 16, 21, and so on and so forth. So the issue of VAT in relation to our neighbors, other countries, will also be looked at. But that existing regime profile is still what is obtaining until the final report on revenue mobilization, revenue generation, and disbursement. That committee submitted report. It is too early to say, yes, this is the direction.
6 weeks, there hasn't been any single word to tell Nigerians that the cost of governance is being brought down. Well, is that fair to Nigerians?
The cost of governance, yes. Whether it's being brought down or not, is yet to be unfolded. You are right. But 6 weeks is yet to benchmark a particular administration that has no ministers as of today, that has no chairman of boards, members of boards. All those areas are key centers.
Prof, the president promised hitting the ground running.
He has hit the ground running.
Yes.
Just take a look at it. You see, you must know that you are just a nation. Just a nation out of the, in the context of other nations. President Tinubu, less than 6 weeks, was appointed as chairman of ECOWAS. And he takes regional security as very, very important. And he has informed his fellow brothers that, look, this new administration, maybe we use 1 year or 2 years there, will be to tackle regional security challenges.
Yeah, I was going to come to that. He has had 3 outside engagements now, in France, in ECOWAS, and now
in African Union.
Yes, as we speak. What touches me more, not bothers, his speech at ECOWAS, which you have started talking about. Nigerians will ask you, now democracy, we go chop.
You are going to chop democracy. Let me just tell you today that the stability of Nigeria is very, very central to the stability of the West African sub-region. There is no country, if there is a crisis in Nigeria, there is no country in the entire West Africa that can take the refugee influx to Nigeria. What's the size of Togo? What's the size of Benin Republic? What's the size of Ghana? Morovia, we are the godfather right there. Sierra Leone, Liberia, Gambia. You know, the first Inspector General of Police in Gambia was a Nigerian at that time.
So, not only that, they are chief justices.
So when you look at the West African sub-region, the security of West African sub-region is the security of Nigeria. So small weapon proliferation, very, very. We do not want a repetition of what happened to Libya and Egypt, Burkina Faso, to have presence in our own country here. So thank God that Nigeria has a stable democracy. Since you can take a look at 1999 to date,
yes.
we have said no to coup d'etats.
Yeah.
We have said no to men in beret, in green caps, or red, and so on and so forth. For us to be able to transit from one civilian government to another is a positive development for Nigeria democratization process. Democracy is a journey. It is a process. It is not just one point destination.
My producers are telling me time is not on our side, but I want you to attempt to answer this question. You may not be able to have time to do it in full. We are the likes of Nnamdi Kanu, El Zaki. These ones, must they continue to be in prison or in detention under a democratic president like Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Bola Ahmed Tinubu just came in 6 months ago.
Yeah, but no,
the case,
6 weeks.
I mean, 6 weeks ago. The case files are there. But let me tell you that Nigerian government have always been very, very democratic. But if you are going to free a particular group of people, it's through a process and consultation. Let me just take a look back at post-1970. Ojukwu warred against Nigerian state.
Yeah.
He was the first person to declare secession against the Nigerian state. Fought 3-year civil war against Nigeria. At the end of the day, the policy of no victor, no vanquish. Ojukwu, a man who was my great friend at the time.
You are both historians.
Apart from both historians, he welcomed me. He was there when I did public presentation of my first book on Nigerian Civil War in 1992. He was there as the special guest of honor. So a man I knew very well. He aspired to be the Senate, to be a senator of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. He was freely pardoned by Shagari administration. He aspired to be the president of Nigeria, and that is healing. Vice President Alex Ekweme was able to emerge as Vice President of the People's Republic of Nigeria 10 years after the Civil War. The Igbo stakeholders must really know how to handle Nnamdi Kanu case. We cannot continue to fight another second civil war in Nigeria of 2023. You cannot be asking people not to go to work, not to go to school, flogging school pupils, teachers, shooting people in terms of legitimate means, and you now ask people to forgive you. It is important that the leadership of the Southeast must come with
a blueprint
for the release of Nnamdi Kanu.
Elzaki, just a minute.
Elzaki, that process has started. Okay. When you look at how Kaduna governor, deputy governor, and speaker emerged, you can see the process of reconciliation and conciliation. The northern Kaduna today has their leaders. Okay. So, and they are happy with the leadership structure in Kaduna State today.
Time is not on our side, Prof. I would have loved to have you because you are a very engaging speaker. Today, thank you very much for finding time to be here. To the viewer at home, it's been a privilege speaking with Professor Bola OYEWESO, an academic, a professor of history, a writer, a speaker, name it, somebody who has belonged to watching the evolution, as I described earlier, of the Nigerian nation in the last nearly 50 years. I hope you did enjoy every minute of our conversation. Prof, thank you once again for being here. Yeah. We see you more frequently now.
Once again, I want to thank Femi Adefila, my brother, for conceiving this idea, from bringing it to fruition. Please, it should be appear first private television station in Osun State.
That's a recommendation.
Part of the trademark.
That's a recommendation. Thank you very much, Prof.
Thank you, sir.
Today, viewer, that's a concluding point that we have to anchor this program. I will be with you again in 2 weeks' time, as I always call myself. I'm an alternate presenter. Femi will be here next week, as we do and we have done in the past. Thank you very much for being there watching us. We'll see you in 2 weeks' time.